ஹாய் ஹலோ வணக்கம் அண்ட் வெல்கம் பேக். இன்றைக்கி நாம் 7th ஸ்டாண்டர்ட் இங்கிலீஷ் டேர்ம் 3 யூனிட் 3 ப்ளே ஜேன் ஏர். At Lowood, the driver wakes up Jane. She is let off at the gates of Lowood. She meets Miss Miller and Miss Temple. Miss Miller, Jane Eyre. Jane, yes madam. Miss Miller, this way. They cross the stage where Miss Temple is waiting. Jane enters a dark stone building. All are quiet. She neither sees or hears any other student. Miss Temple, this child is very young to be sent alone. She had better be put to bed soon. She looks tired. Are you tired? Jane, a little, madam. Miss Temple, and hungry too, no doubt. Let her have some supper before she goes to bed. Miss Miller, to Jane, is this the first time you have left your parents to come to school, my little girl? Jane, my parents are dead. Miss Temple, oh, I see. Can you read and write? Jane, yes, madam. Miss Temple, and sew. Do you sew? Jane, a little. Miss Temple touches her cheeks gently. I hope you shall be a good girl, Jane Eyre. Jane, yes, madam. Miss Miller and Jane exit. The next day, Miss Miller and Jane enter a wide long room. There are many girls of age 10 to 20. All are uniformly dressed. The room is noisy. Miss Miller, silence. The girls quieten immediately. Go to the wash. When the girls get there, they hesitate. What is the matter? Time to wash. Girl, Miss Miller. Miss Miller, what is it? Girl, the water is frozen again. Miss Miller, very well, monitors. Remove the basins. Miss Temple enters. Miss Miller, the new girl. Where shall I put her, Miss Temple? Miss Temple, perhaps the 4th form. Miss Miller, but she is so little. Miss Temple, she can read and write. I think she will do well there. Miss Miller, yes, Miss Temple. Jane is put in Form 4. After lunch, Miss Miller asks the girls to go to the garden. Miss Miller and Miss Temple exit and Helen enters, sits and reads a book. Jane, is your book interesting? Helen, I like it. Hands it to her. You may look at it. Jane. Jane looks at the book. I think it is too difficult for me. Returns it. Helen, you read one of your age. Jane, my name is Jane Eyre. What is your name? Helen, Helen Burns. Jane, can you tell me what the writing on the stone over the door means? What is Lowood Institution? Helen, this house where you have come to live. Jane, and why do they call it institution? Is it anyway different from other schools? Helen, it is partly a charity school. You and I and all the rest of us are charity children. I suppose you are an orphan. Aren't either your father or your mother dead? Jane, both died before I can remember. Helen, well, all the girls here have lost either one or both parents. This is called an institution for educating orphans. Jane, are you happy here? Helen, you ask rather too many questions. I have given you answers enough for the present. Now I want to read. Jane leaves Helen. Spring has started. Semi-starvation and neglected colds had predisposed most of the students to receive infection. 45 out of the 80 girls lay ill at one time. Helen is also ill. Jane goes to meet Helen in Miss Temple's room. Jane, Helen, are you awake? Helen, face is pale but composed. Why have you come here, Jane? It is past 11 o'clock. Jane, I have come to see you, Helen. I have heard you are ill, and I cannot sleep until I speak to you. Helen, you have come to bid me goodbye. You are just in time, probably. Jane, are you going home? Helen, yes, to my long home, last home. Jane, no, Helen. But where are you going, Helen? Do you know? Helen, I believe I have faith. I am going to God. How comfortable I am. The cough has tired me. I feel as if I could sleep. Jane. Good night, Helen. Helen. Good night, Jane. Helen dies that night. The school improves. Jane spends 8 years in the school, 6 years as pupil, and 2 years as teacher. Jane wants liberty and becomes half desperate. She advertises in the Herald for situations. A week later, she has received a letter from Mrs. Fairfax, Thornfield. Jane leaves Lowood and goes to Thornfield. Thank you for watching this video.